Hey guys, welcome out to the range. Today I wanted to do a video that I really wanted to name shoulder transition crap, but I'm not going to do that. Haven't quite figured out a title for it yet, but obviously the fact that you're viewing it means that I have figured out a title. Several years ago I was at SHOT Show and I was doing just kind of like a tabletop interview with a ranger. We're going to leave his name out of it. And anyways, I was talking about, back then, okay, let me back up. Back then I was so full of myself. And I thought like the sun and moon and stars just, were there for me. And, everything I wrote was being printed. Little did I realize that the magazine, like the paper magazine industry, is desperate for good writers. Now, it seems that the whole thing has kind of transitioned to, if you're not a former Special Forces operator, no one wants to listen to you, whatever. Let me grab my gun. So anyways, I was talking to this dude, and I was telling him, I went to a class and blah, 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 and I was talking about, we were transitioning from one side to the other, and I kid you not, in fact, my friend Matt was there. He can actually vouch for this. I kid you not, this ranger got up from the table and began to walk away. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, I'm not in the mood for any of that crap." And at that point I was like, "Shut up, Abner, and listen." And I said, "Okay, teach me." So right there, sitting at this table, for those of you that have been to SHOT, it's that restaurant right next to the area where Palazzo and the Venetian meet up together into the Sands Expo Center. I forget that little restaurant / bar thing right there that would serve breakfast in the mornings. And that's where we were having this interview. So anyways, he gets ready to get up from the table, and I was like, "Show me, what am I missing?" And he said something that I will never forget. He's like, "It's a gunfight. You don't have the time or the mobility to transition properly, to go from here to here. You just don't have that kind of time." And I'm like, okay, so what are you supposed to do? Basically what he was getting at was, if you're working this guy on this angle, then you work this guy on this angle. If you need to deal with this guy over here, and let's say that you have a section of wall that you could potentially work him from, instead of doing this, first of all, you don't really have that kind of time. Basically, his deal was, is there something that says that you can't continue to work the angle like this? And I was like, okay, see, the canned world, and this is what I'm getting at in this video, the canned world of training is barrier, target, target. And I'm going to say something very boldly, and I'm going to be very open about it and tell you it applies to me too. As an instructor, you have students that you have to work through the line. And sometimes you have the guy who just wants to talk everything into the ground. So what you end up doing is you just let him. And in so doing, we end up solidifying bad training ideas, bad methods and ideologies. Instead of doing this and then transitioning over and working this side, train yourself to then work around the barrier and find your next shot. Ooh, that's loud. Find your next shot. You know what? Let's do a long shot, just for fun. I love this optic. Trijicon ACOG 1.516S. Woo, mommy. Love this optic. Anyways, instead of working here, I worked here and then I worked around the barrier, which, with all honesty, is a more realistic view of how I'm probably going to deal with this anyways. Because remember, it's an environment where I've just been shot at, I've just dropped the guy that was shooting at me. Where's the next guy? Where's the next guy? 2 years ago, I went to a training facility, and we were in the shoot house with sim guns. No, I'm sorry, with airsoft pistols. And I did a dang good job of working on my angles and identifying a guy that was in the distance. And I got him verbally under control. Except my pride and my got the better of me. And when I started trading shots with the dude that was around this corner, and I negotiated that corner like this. And I got around that corner quickly. And once I realized he was there and he zipped a few shots at me, I backed up and I had all the coverage that I need, and I lowered my weapon the way I was supposed to. Those of you that understand what I'm doing, you know why I'm doing this. And I kept track of the bigger picture. And I backed up trying to work the angles on him, and all of a sudden I started feeling hits right here. And I said to the instructor, I'm hit. Because I'm going to be honest, guys, I'm there to learn, not there to make myself look cool. And he says, it's a grazing shot, keep going. So mentally, at a very high rate of speed, I start working out the angles going, how in the hell is he hitting me? And I hear, and I feel, and guys, airsoft, you know, it'll sting you. And I feel another zip right there. And I keep thinking, how's this dude hitting me? And guess what I've forgotten? That guy. The guy that I had verbally gotten under control and ordered to the ground. The guy that I thought I'd put my bows on and gotten him under control. I'd forgotten about him. And he'd gotten on his feet and he'd started shooting at me because they were working in conjunction just like bad guys do. He was meant to draw me in and he was meant to flank me, which is exactly what happened. And when I realized what had occurred, I was so pissed off. But then I said to myself, but I learned. That's what this is about. I no longer do the little transition doodle, especially if you're wearing all this crap. This can get hung up. I'm lucky because my sling, the Tier 1 Citizen 2-point slings, are thin, and they're made of a very flexible and very slick webbing that tends to slide off of all this crap that I'm wearing. But there are some slings that have these wonderful pads back here and all these dooflotchies and sliders and hickey bobs. And I have seen guys in training wearing this crap get hung up to the point where they end up having to cut the sling to undo the weapon right? And then guess what happens when they forget that they've undone the sling? You think this is not possible, but I'm telling you, I've seen it. Actually, I'll tell you something else in a second. And what ends up happening is a dude forgets he's no longer in a sling, and he opens his hands to allow the weapon to go to the sling, because the instructor saw what he did, and he started pushing him. Keep going, keep going. And the guy runs the gun dry, and he goes to transition, and he opens his hands, and his gun hits the dirt. Or if he's lucky, it's kind of sort of, let me grab the end of this thing, it kind of sort of hangs up and stops, and he realizes he's almost dumped his gun in the gravel. And then he sort of halfway recovers, and now he's doing this type of thing, right? Well, I'll leave you with this. Situational awareness is a big, big, big deal. And a few years ago, I don't even know if I have the video anymore. A few years ago, I was at a class, and the student was running the barriers, and the instructor kept on pushing him and pushing him and pushing him. And the guy ran his, what was it? Oh yeah, he was running with the handgun. He was on the barriers, and we're doing the Running Man thing. And he's working, and his gun runs empty. And I don't know why. The instructor doesn't know why. I was running cameras. The instructor doesn't know why. The dude literally squats all the way down and lays it on the ground. Brings his rifle up and keeps working. And he's working a really long barrier. So he goes from one side to the other, right? Well, the instructor reaches over and he picks up the handgun, and it's locked open. And he goes like this to me, and I take it. And you see me on the video, the camera actually picks it up. I basically take it, and I'm just holding it like this in my hand. And the instructor essentially keeps running the guy until his gun runs dry. And he says, transition, transition! And the guy allows the long gun to go to the sling, and he reaches for his handgun, and he does what a cat does when it's chasing its tail. He goes, where's my handgun? Where's my handgun? I'm not lying, guys. Legit. The guy does a twirly doodle twice. Where's my handgun? And the instructor calls. He says, right, range is clear, line is safe, all bad guys are down, range is clear, and the student keeps going, where's my handgun? And I'm literally holding it like this, slide lock back, and I'm holding it like this, and he still can't see it. The point that I'm making is this. He was so tunneled in, so sucked in, and that was a Running Man target on wheels. He knew that wasn't real, but his brain was having difficulty differentiating between training stress and fighting stress. There's data on this, guys. There's solid data on this. And he had lost track of reality versus training. And he'd lost track of his situational awareness, and he laid his handgun in the gravel. Why? Because he'd never done this before. Because he'd never forced himself to think, what am I going to do? What do I need to do? What could go wrong? What needs to be my body language in what I'm doing? That's what this is about. I know I've kind of gotten off on a rabbit trail in this video, but guys, I want to give you the broader picture of just the stack loads of training that I've had. Daylight training, night training. I've taken the same class in a night version. Vehicle low light. Handgun manipulations, low light. Carbine manipulations, low light. Tactical rifle, low light, meaning the day version, 2 or 3 days, the night version, 2 or 3 nights. Over and over and over. Look at my training resume. It's on my website. And by the way, what's on my website is just actually a distilled explanation of the totality of what I've done. That's not the actual count of what I've done. That's actually 65 classes. December of 2020 will make 66. I say this to you with complete fact. When I say something to you, I'm speaking out of experience. Having been a third shift officer who knows how to operate in darkness, who understands light discipline to such a degree, any cop, listen guys, and if you're cops out there, please don't chime in because I don't need you piking yourself out, but any police officer who's worth a darn knows how to drive a patrol car completely blacked out, including headlights. You know how to get somewhere in total darkness if you have to. You know how to quietly get out of your car without actually hitting the brake pedal. You basically use your emergency brake and you get that car stopped. And then you quietly put it in park and you slide out of the driver's seat and you place the door and then you very, very gently lean into it while holding the handle, and then, or sometimes you just kind of like leave the door sort of putty-put and you go and do what you got to go do. It's the reality of a third shift officer. I'll leave you with that because I could accidentally open Pandora's box on a lot of people. Think of the bigger picture, guys. If nothing else, open your eyes and think of the bigger picture of the things that you're dealing with. Doing the whole transition, slinging the gun, flinging things around, that all looks cool and high speed and awesome, but a lot of that stuff is tactically unsound. Think about things that are tactically sound. As always, I thank you guys for watching. God bless you all. Get those guns out in practice. Have a good one.